Hello friends, Bishop Tom Dowd here with another video of Catholic teaching in 10 minutes or less. In this video I'd like to continue our series, Catholic Marriage for Non-Catholics. This series is meant especially for couples getting ready to be married in communion with the Catholic Church, where one spouse is Catholic and the other one is not, and they are learning and growing together as to what marriage means in the context of the Catholic faith. For this video, I'd like to share with you an insight that builds on a previous video. The previous video, I had spoken about how there is no marriage without consent. There is no power on earth that can replace the consent of the two parties getting married. But the insight here is that consent is not enough. It is necessary, but not sufficient. There are other criteria that need to be met as well. Remember, the Catholic idea of marriage is it's not just the two who are making an agreement. God himself enters into the union so that the two become one. There's a spiritual aspect to marriage as well. And God doesn't just do that because we tell him to. We may be consenting to something, but God also looks at the circumstances to make sure that the marriage that's being proposed actually responds to what he thinks of marriage. So what does the Catholic Church teach about that? Well, the Catholic Church believes that these extra criteria, that go beyond the simple criteria of consent, there are some criteria that are built into human nature itself. So we call that the natural law. It's not some law that you can find in a law book decreed by a legislator. It's a way of living that is built into our very human nature itself. And so these are criteria that the Catholic Church believes are universal. Whatever the society that is organizing marriage according to its own beliefs and principles, God will bless those marriages, but they have to meet these minimal criteria. So those are the minimal criteria of the natural law. That said, Catholic Church does believe that an aspect of our human nature is that we are social animals. We grow up in societies. We are socialized into being human. We're not the kind of species, where the mother lays some eggs and wanders off and leaves the little ones to hatch and be on their own. No, we grow, mature in the context of societies, and we have duties to those societies. And so there is a social aspect to marriage. It flows from our human nature, but it means that those various human societies throughout history, because marriage is part of our human nature and human beings form societies, human law, the law of those societies, can also add additional criteria. You have the criteria of the natural law. These are minimums. Human societies can add more criteria. They can't take away from the natural law criteria. They can't dispense from the natural law criteria. But as long as they're respecting this, because marriage is part of the social fabric, and there is a step of getting married called solemnization. Solemnization, basically that means the ceremony, or whatever the equivalent is in the different societies that helps a couple to go from being not married to married, and that everybody recognizes is the step from not married to married. That's solemnization. So this is obviously a big subject. We're going to do this in a couple of videos. So for this video, I want to focus primarily on the criteria of the natural law. What does the Catholic Church believe about human nature? And what does that belief say about the possibility of marriage? Well, the first thing, I've color-coded these, by the way. Blue means a positive criteria that has to be met, and the red ones are negative criteria. If that's present, then there isn't a marriage possible. So the positive criteria is maturity. You have to have consent in order to get married. But just because you want to say yes to something doesn't mean you're ready. Doesn't mean you understand what it is, doesn't mean you have the emotional maturity to invest in that decision. There can be all kinds of aspects of maturity, whether psychological or intellectual, which if they're missing, even though a person may be sincerely saying yes, they're just not capable of entering into the life and the obligations and the duties of marriage. They have perhaps some more growing to do, or perhaps they suffer from an illness of some kind, a mental illness, for example, that affects their judgment, and it would raise doubts, or perhaps even not really all that much doubt. We know that although they deeply desire to be married, it's just not possible. They're just not capable of truly entering into that union. Maturity also, obviously, there's developmental maturity as people get older. I mean, 6-year-olds will pretend they'll play at getting married to each other, but even though they might imitate a ceremony perfectly, even if in their hearts they really wish it was happening, it's not happening. So there's a minimal level of maturity that needs to be present. This is hard to detect in advance. It's not always easy to see, although I think for a lot of us, we've probably seen some people getting married, perhaps friends of ours or family members, and we said to ourselves, oh boy, because we just know there's something there that could be a blockage. We hope for the best, but we just kind of know. So maturity, well, God can read our hearts. He knows, and he's not going to unite spiritually two people who just aren't capable of it for whatever psychological or developmental reason. The 3 negative criteria. The Catholic Church believes that polygamy is contrary to God's will. Now, polygamy has existed in many societies throughout history. It's even mentioned in the Bible, in some of the older stories of the Bible. And today we find polygamy. There's a major religion of the world called Islam, where polygamy is specifically authorized only for the men. The women, no, but the men can be polygamous in certain circumstances. Certain traditional cultures allow for polygamy. Even here in North America, there's a religion that started in North America called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, otherwise known as the Mormons, which authorized polygamy in its early days. So the Catholic Church believes no to polygamy. Doesn't mean a person can't get married more than once in their life, but there are very specific criteria that allow that to be possible, and never simultaneously to 2 or more people at the same time. The second major blockage, you can't marry close blood relatives. You can't marry any of your ancestors, you can't marry any of your descendants, and you can't marry his brother and sister. That's the big I word, incest. And incestuous relationships, even if they are consenting, God will not unite them in marriage. That is a fundamental belief that the Catholic Church says is an element drawing from our human nature. Finally, this one surprises people, but the Catholic Church believes that in order to be married, the 2 spouses have to be capable of the physical union, the sexual union. And so impotence is a barrier to marriage. If someone is perpetually impotent, then they can't get married because they cannot achieve the union, not just of souls, but of flesh. The Bible says the 2 become one, but it adds another word. The 2 become one flesh. Now, obviously, this opens the door to a whole host of other questions about human sexuality, and, well, we're already running out of time in this video. We'll have to tackle that in future subjects. Just to say that these are the minimal criteria of the natural law the Church believes belongs to marriage. We'll get into the other ones in the next video, but in the meantime, God bless all of you.